My dear people of Ambazonia, my dear brave warriors of our liberation movement of the Southern Cameroons. Our celebration greetings from me, Comrade John Akuro, today is Sunday, January 22, 2023. My people, I'm delighted to be here today once more. I know it's been a few days because the last time that I came up here, I came to talk about some very serious issues going on within the community and concerning our brave hearts. Today, we will take a little deep at the communique that was, released by the Canadian Minister for Foreign Affairs, and of course, we will take a look at the statement issued by the Amazonian movements, groups, and organizations that represented the former UN Trust territory of British Southern Cameroons at the pre-talks in Canada. Of course, this is the dawn of a new era. A lot of things have happened, and a lot more will continue to happen. But before I get into that discussion, I want to take a minute to talk about something that happened in our neighbor's land, in La République du Cameroun. I'm a journalist by profession too, and I worked as a journalist in Cameroon for about 2 decades. And so, my people of Ambazonia, I would definitely be not human at all if I want to stay indifferent to things that happen to people who also decided to stand up as ambassadors for truth. A popular francophone journalist, citizen of La République du Cameroun, known as Martinez Zogo, was working with Amplitude FM, was extracted, kidnapped by unknown men in a big car in Yaoundé since the night of the 17th of January. And of course, late yesterday, his remains were found somewhere around Soa after he was badly beaten. And eyewitness accounts indicate that his body shows that he was even raped by these people who tortured him then to death and threw away his corpse. When I heard about that, I immediately thought of our own brother Samuel Wazizi. In the case of Martinez Zogo, at least they have seen the remains. The family has something that they will inter. In the case of our brother Samuel Wazizi, to this date, La République du Cameroun has continued to never ever officially hand us the remains of our brother, that they disappeared in like manners. My people of Ambazonia, I go back to this because I like to draw the attention of all those who are misguided in our midst, especially also in the press corps, who continue to think you can please a monstrous and demonic system. I recall a day while I still served at CRTV that I was serving some 8 days of suspension because in a program I had said that if they go by some of the things that Mr. Paul Biya was doing in the country, and if at all anyone tries to be objective as to the way the people are being molested because of those kinds of actions, it would be very easy to describe Mr. Paul Biya as being the devil's incarnate. I said it then on CRTV national station and I meant it. Of course, I knew there were going to be consequences, and the consequences were not long in coming. First, I was suspended for 8 days with salary effect. Next, I had all the trouble that I was supposed to have with the security forces. But again, I was able, perhaps, to, stay alive, maybe because they thought that it was still possible to cajole me with all the ways they were trying to cajole, into positions, into goodies and everything, convincing themselves that if they succeeded in turning me to start being a parrot for the regime, they were going to get greater credibility because of what I had built with the public in terms of credibility through my objective reporting. My people of Amazonia, some have joked in this liberation movement, sometimes. Actually, when they do call me names, call me an agent of La Republica, some say they don't even know why I escaped from Cameroon. I'd like to let you know. Paul Atanganji is part of that group of people that kill with impunity. Oh yes, they take lives with impunity. They can do anything to anybody at any time. And they know that there is nothing Mr. Paul Biya will do. To ensure that they position themselves where they will do these things onto people ceaselessly, they got him to be appointed Secretary General of the National Security Council, a moribund body that never meets. But just to give him the possibility to be able to access security circles to do the dirty things that he has been doing. And so it came to pass that in January 2017, that was shortly after, I think that was January 11, after the ghost town of January 9, Mr. Paul Atanganji invited myself, Christian Bibgo of the Guardian Post, and we went along with Gerald Ndiko of the Horizon newspaper to his residence. He wanted to give us, because then I was publisher of the Times Journal. He wanted to give us, or he actually did give us, a press release and wanted us not to publish it as a message, but to publish it as if we were the authors of the articles, and it was going to simply be at variance with the thoughts and aspirations of the people of the southern Cameroons at the time for freedom. And while we got inside his house, this is the first time ever I'm telling this experience here. While we got inside his house, there were over 23 French language newspaper publishers already waiting there. Of course, he was ready to give each organ money, and the pretext was that he was paying for an insertion. Of course, paying for an insertion is normal. Newspaper sells space, and we told him the price that will pay for that. He will pay for that space. And when he gave the message, he said this message will have to be published with a mentioned message, so they know that it is you talking and not us. Because when they know it is you talking, it's received differently. But if they feel it is us talking, that is a completely different story. And of course, those ideas were simply ideas that I would never buy as an individual. But what was more embarrassing is that in the presence of these Francophone newspaper publishers, Mr. Paul Atanganji turned and said, my Francophone brothers are very dishonest. No, my Anglophone brothers, you people are very dishonest. We are very dishonest. This system has done a lot for us. Paul has done too much for us, and we can't agree. At that point, the thing got into my head. And I think when Christian Bibgo too, though he didn't go as far as I did. And I said, Mr. Paul Atanganji, stop, and stop with immediate effect, right in the presence of those French language news publishers. And I told him, you don't invite us here to berate us in front of people who can't even measure up to us in terms of any standards. I was joined by Christian Bibgo, who reminded Mr. Atanga Ponji that he was even the most dishonest, because a lot of the dishonest communiques that he fabricated for things that never existed, he channeled them through him to be published. So while we raised our voices under his roof very seriously and told him vexing things, there was a television channel, there was a TV set standing before us, and on that screen were issues of they call it Freemasonry and whatsoever. And I told him, you have to stop this if I have to continue to be here. Because you don't invite me here to initiate me. It wasn't a very interesting moment. It's true we left from there and we made this report to Kamasech. But you could see it as isolated. These guys are very vindictive. And so when he came to know that I was involved with the consortium, and that it is me who prepared the letter that foiled the plans of the Cameroon government, who were sure that with the arrest and detention of Bala and Fontem, they had cut the head of the consortium and he was going to die. But was shocked, they were all shocked that by the following morning, Tapang Aivo, Tanku, and Magbara were named interim leaders of the consortium with a letter purportedly signed by Bala, who was already in detention. So he found out that was me. The plan was all laid out. I was alive thanks to a cable by one of them in the security apparatus that said, we also want this freedom. We may not be as courageous as you to stand, but we can't sit here and watch something happen to you. I definitely might have ended like Martinez Zogo. I definitely might have ended like Samuel Wazizi. My people of Ambazonia, I'm taking this opportunity to tell all our brothers and sisters who are still joking around with La République du Cameroun to bear in mind La République du Cameroun's officials have no friends. They have only one thing that turns in their minds: power, money, illicit money, and influence. That is all. Your life means nothing to any one of them. They will use you. And once they finish using you, they will dump you. We have seen them do this over and over and over. Yet, some continue to think that you can sign a truce with the devil. Cameroon as it is today is hell on earth. I'm looking here at what Jean-Bruno Tanya. Jean-Bruno Tanya is a very popular journalist in Cameroon. He reports for RFI and other international media houses. He says, the state has resigned. The republic is in the bush. The country is no longer governed. Run for your lives. That is Jean-Bruno Tanya, the citizen of La République. He tells people, run for your life. Because the state has resigned. The republic is in the bush. And the country is no longer governed. Run for your life. Now, why is telling citizens of La République Cameroon to run for their lives? Some of our brethren from Ambazonia are running to living literally heaven, Ambazonia to hell in La République du Cameroon. I will come back in another communication to listen again. I've said this over and over, to an audio by Clovis Nasseri. Of course, that audio has been played by Success in Congo, in which Clovis Nasseri says that he is seriously empowered by Mr. Ngongo, by the government of La République du Cameroon, and they can decide to wipe out entire villages in Ambazonia, and those places will be occupied by Francophone citizens. Don't forget, Clovis Nasseri is from Dian. He was at the DDR. That's a gentleman who was so badly beaten by the other people at the DDR. And Clovis did not end there. He said one very important thing that I want us to note. He said, they who call themselves blacklegs have the fiat from the government of Cameroon to take their families to La République du Cameroon. But that if other Amazonians believe that they too are protected, who are taking their families to La République du Cameroon, they can follow them right out there in La République du Cameroon and wipe them out, and nothing will happen to any of them. So therefore, when you are leaving the fire pan into the fire, ask yourselves these very important questions. Am I doing the right thing? I keep saying this by day and by night. I said the implosion of that country is close. Run for your dear life. You didn't hear me. Today is Jean-Bruno Tanya that is saying, run for your lives. Run for your lives. Jean-Bruno Tanya, a journalist and citizen of La République du Cameroon. Like I said, the regime of impunity is unparalleled. That is installed in La République du Cameroon right now. It's not a place for you to be at. But if you are there, know you are in a jungle. And anything can happen to you at any time. And as Clovis Nasseri said, nothing will happen to anybody. Look at what has happened to Martinez Zogo. No head will roll. We already heard the Minister of Communication trying to justify why what happened to him should have happened by saying he poked his nostrils into things he shouldn't have done. Really? He didn't deserve imprisonment. He deserved death. You also heard that Atanga Ponji called the Secretary General at the National Delegation for General Security to say they should stop all investigations into what might have happened to Martinez Zogo. If a tiger can eat its own very ones, what will it not do to the flesh of a pig? My dear people of Amazonia, you will recall, some of us have said over and over that in that country there is freedom of expression. But no freedom is guaranteed after you use your freedom of expression. So freedom of expression, but no freedom after expression. And you can see it play out day in, day out in La République du Cameroon. This is not the place where our people ought to be. Run for your lives, says Jean-Bruno Tanya. Run for your lives. You still have time. Don't wait until it's too late for you to get out of that hell of a country. That said, my people, I want to express sincere thanks before I get into the Canada stuff. I want to express sincere thanks to those among you who took the cue from my last communication to begin sending in some contributions to enable us pay attention to some of our prisoners of conscience who are currently languishing in the dungeons of La République du Cameroon, and to take care too of some of our people who were really living good lives, but who have sacrificed everything to stand for us and find themselves in very difficult circumstances right now that they need assistance. I'm delighted that some of you, without waiting for me to actually launch this fund drive formally, have started sending in contributions through Amber Relief 2018 at gmail.com. That's Amber Relief, AMBARELIEF 2018 at gmail.com. That one serves us for PayPal and for Zelle. Those are the only two channels through which we are collecting money into the Amazonia Relief Fund, where this assistance is dished out. Take note that while we have laid a lot of emphasis on our people who are in the dungeons of La République du Cameroon in Yaoundé, and that said, there are a good lot of them in Boya, in Bamenda, and in other parts where no one knows exactly what is happening to them, who are sometimes in serious need of medical assistance. These are those neglected areas that we want to focus on and to bring them succor to, that they should continue to know that we are one people, one spirit, one destiny. And this is fundamentally important. So let's move now onto the release from Canada. Of course, I won't go into reading what Canada sent out because almost everyone has had the opportunity to see it. I'll simply go through the press release sent out by the groups, movements, and organizations that sat in at those pre-talks for the former UN Trust territory of the British Southern Cameroons. And take note that the leadership had promised a joint outing, and we are working on that very seriously. Because during that joint outing, and we should come at a time it's coming for some specific reasons that I can't disclose right here. During that outing, a lot of issues that seem to be dark zones in people's minds will be carefully explained. Because the objective is to take everyone on board. The objective is to make everyone realize that quite some grounds have been covered, but there's so much left to be done because we are just getting to start this process. And therefore, all hands have to be on deck for us to get the success that we are supposed to get. So in this communique by the Ambassador side, it reads, in the past 4 months, delegates of the Republic of Cameroon and the former United Nations Trust territory of the British Southern Cameroons have been holding pre-talks as first steps towards comprehensively addressing the root causes of the Ambazonian Liberation War. In the presence of the United Nations Nations as observer, both parties have signed a joint declaration of commitment, committing to a negotiated process from which a comprehensive negotiated settlement shall emanate, and mandated Canada as facilitator of this process. We take the opportunity to thank our delegates for their steadfastness and dedication to these talks. Ambazonia will engage in this process cautiously, given the history of the Cameroon government's stance since 1961 towards the former United Nations Trust territory of British Southern Cameroons, aka Amazonia. It is in this light that we express our deep concern about the references in the statement made by the government of Canada that undermines the spirit and letter of the signed commitment between both parties. As a people, we define our name and expect the international community to respect our unique identity and reference. As representative of Ambazonia, we remain committed to engage with Canada as facilitator and explore ways for a multinational facilitation process. Apart from this formal commitment, a humanitarian measure of good faith, the parties agreed to discuss confidence-building measures to build trust. Both sides have set up technical committees to lay out the modalities and clarify technical matters about the implementation and monitoring of confidence-building measures. While committing to make sure this process is inclusive of all Ambazonian voices, we ask the Ambazonian people to remain committed and support this process. We take the opportunity to ask all other groups in Ambazonia to work together to support and strengthen this process. We also want to assure our people that the interest of Ambazonia is the core of our engagement in this process. To our prisoners and detainees, faith. To our fighters, courage and bravery. To our refugees and internally displaced, we stand with you. To our people, resilience. We shall overcome. God bless Ambazonia. So this statement was issued on January 21, 2023. That was yesterday. And so, my people, having listened to this statement, there are few things I want to say. Of course, you must have noticed that the government of Canada recognizes error, and actually some of their officials sent out tweets actually referring to us the way it was agreed they will have to be referred to. That is the former United Nations Trust territory of British Southern Cameroons. The mention Northwest Southwest was erroneous, and I think that has been addressed. And again, for one thing, we just have to be patient until the statement that both parties signed up to is released. And I think when that is done, a lot of clarity will come into the hearts and minds of the people and allay some of the fears and worries that have been legend on all the social media platforms. I also want to use this opportunity to say the entire leadership remains very indebted, beginning from me to the CDN. The CDN has done an incredible job. From the moment some of our compatriots or groups, movements, and organizations were contacted for these discussions in Canada, for these pre-talks in Canada, right to the moment a statement was agreed to and signed up to. They helped in coordinating the activities of the various groups. They helped in ensuring that all the groups, movements, and organizations work together and present a united front in Canada. They provided us their services and served as an invaluable working surface, helping to organize us. Despite all the insults, the attacks, the name calling on the CDN, I want to commend the leaders of the CDN for remaining calm, showing some good cold blood, maintaining a level head, and continuing to do exactly what they believe in. I want to express sincere thanks to the CDN, because if we came up there as one people, speaking with one voice, putting up a united front, they contributed at least 85 to 90% to getting us there. And this same testimony you're going to get from all the leaders who were involved. This is something we must commend, because it was a good thing and it did help us. That said, I see there are a lot of talks, a lot of speculations going on, being formed, that La République du Cameroon will definitely react. La République du Cameroon will come out. Now I want to use this platform to caution our people. Don't be carried away by whatever language La République du Cameroon will use. Because they, on their side too, are certainly feeling already some kind of glitches when they see our press release. It is normal for each side to try to let their people know that they did not show weakness. So they will say a lot of things. Let us remain patient, vigilant, refuse to be provoked, and wait until the statement is released. And when the official statement is released, we shall all go from there. My people of Ambazonia, this is a very critical moment in the history of our liberation movement. Nobody should fool you that La République du Cameroon came to the table just because they had decided that they want to come by themselves. No, it is not an act of magnanimity by anyone. No, it is because they have recognized that they could not kill the spirit of freedom within the people of Ambazonia by military means. It is because they have recognized that there is so much on their plate and it makes sense to start reducing the fronts. It's because they have recognized that this is the right thing to do at this point in time. And it is also because they have been schooled by their partners on the international scene that if you continue being heady, if you continue thinking that you do this only militarily, you will never win. My people of Ambazonia, this is a moment that we must relish in. But most especially, it is a moment that we must rally all our forces to be together. I've seen already in some tweets, and this is bad faith, like I'll put it, people saying, among the confidence measures, suspend ghost towns, suspend. I said here before, and I'm reiterating, the ghost towns are in place until we get to Boya. Get me right. The ghost towns, the Monday ghost towns, is the civilian approach to showing the international community that they want the last vestiges of La République's colonial administration on our territory out. No one will touch our ghost towns. And therefore, I'm saying right now that this Monday, January 23, is Country Sunday. And to our brave hearts, take note, because you will soon hear a lot of noise on La République Cameroon's media platforms where they'll be trying to manipulate your brain. Say, okay, now that they have started talking, just lay down your arms and everything, keep down your sticks and all whatnot, and then come out and join us. Like, no. This is the time, more than ever before, for you to maintain your positions and be vigilant. Very, very vigilant. I see some people asking, oh, they are signing things in Canada and they're on the ground still burning villages. They will continue to do so. Going to the negotiation table does not mean that everything has ended. No, they will continue to do so. And you have to continue to defend the local population, to stand in the middle, to protect the most vulnerable castes in our community. No one should fool you until you hear the next steps. Until you hear the next steps, continue to be who you are, to be where you are, to do the things you are doing, to keep the spirit of this liberation movement alive. Like I said, this is a time more than ever before that they will seek to take advantage of what will be manipulation and confusion to outdo you, to outdo us. We must remain vigilant. My people of Ambazonia, you must have noticed that I've not gone into a lot of nitty-gritties because the leadership will be out somewhere in the course of the week or towards the weekend to communicate. By that time, I suppose a lot of things would have happened. A lot of water would have gone under the bridge, and some of the frustrations that we're seeing here and there would have been addressed. But during that outing, a lot more information will be brought out. A lot more explanations will be brought out. And the way forward will be charted. Therefore, while we continue to maintain our calm, and while we continue to work towards getting everyone together, because I like us to take note, there was never meant to be any losers or winners as far as these pre-talks, as far as the outcome of these pre-talks in Canada was concerned within the ranks of the Ambazonians. We all are the victors. If you were failure, perhaps they'll throw it on the shoulders of those who were there. If it is victory, it is good enough for everyone to share in it. But I must say this and say it triumphantly. There is no vanquished and no conqueror in this. There is only one winner in what has happened. That one winner is Ambazonia. I will pray us all to avoid throwing stones even at people who were clear opponents of those pre-talks because they were skeptical that anything could come out of it. And let us be frank here. We must understand that as Southern Cameroonians, as Ambazonians, we have to continue to be very skeptical and vigilant when it concerns La République du Cameroun. Because that country is a country that you trust with a pinch of salt. Yeah. Because I said here before that if La République du Cameroun issues 100 checks, 99 will bounce. That's what I said before. And therefore, our people who were skeptical, who were critical, who were asking all kinds of questions and who were expressing worry that we could be forced to go down the route that the Fumban conference went, they were absolutely in their right. No one came out to chastise them basically because we knew that each and everyone means good for Ambazonia. And so therefore, now that the curtains have been opened on what was transpiring in Canada, it is time for us to collectively begin to build. And I think this will help us tremendously going forward. My people of Ambazonia, I'd like to end this communication here, but before I go, I want to say this very clearly. there is going to be so much manipulation and confusion peddling. Stay on the alert. Only get the instructions or the directives from the messages that will be sent out through the website that has been created for core messages regarding the decisions being made or whatever has been arrived at on that platform, to avoid getting confusing messages and confusing signals. This is absolutely important. And I read a post by Comrade Kwanga on Facebook in which he said, and I reiterated, that nothing will be agreed to until a comprehensive settlement is arrived at. That should be the mantra. And therefore, at no given point should they tell you that little patches of agreements have come out and have been agreed to, begin implementing them. So, while you take your rest and take a piece of this, remind each and everyone in our community that Monday, January 23, is Country Sunday. And that Country Sunday is not going anywhere. Ghost towns are not going anywhere until the last vestiges of La République du Cameroon's colonial administration on our territory have been kicked out. And we find ourselves at Bongo Square in Boya screaming, free, free, free at last. We are free. That is the way to go. To God be the glory.